All right. Welcome everyone to the Stretch2Go podcast Maryland series. I have my first live guest in studio, Heather Lamb, RN from BluZone MD here in Annapolis, Maryland. Heather, welcome to the Stretch2Go podcast.
Thanks. This is exciting. It's my first podcast.
As those of you probably who have subscribed or listened to the Stretch2Go podcast, mainly it's been about fascia stretch, health, wellness, fitness, but I decided to create more of a live podcast series for those here in Maryland, small business owners, people who are in health, fitness, wellness, holistic health, you name it, something that takes care of our bodies, something that helps those with longevity, and of course mobility and so forth. There's so much that I've been learning since I've been a small business owner, and I brought Heather because I reached out to her. And I've seen, basically what she's doing. It's not really, no one is doing this hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
Yes.
So, yes, Heather, please just introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and then of course, my first question is, why did you name it BluZone MD?
I love it. Okay. Well, I am Heather Lamb. I have been a nurse for over a decade. And I specialize in wound care, and wound care led to hyperbarics. I was born and raised here in Maryland, Baltimore specifically, and I forgot what the other questions were. However, BluZone. So I was doing hyperbarics and wound care, and people started to come into question about doing hyperbarics for telomere lengthening, and I had no idea what telomere lengthening was. I was like, what is this, Yeah. So I started doing my research, and it's just pretty much people being proactive to live longer.
Okay.
So then I started researching longevity, and I came across the scientists who studied the blue zones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 6 regions around the world where people live the longest. And I started to become really passionate about it. It's amazing the simplicity of how they're living longer, taking care of their loved ones, living off the ground. They do my favorite. Most of these regions around 5 o'clock every day sit down, congregate, enjoy relationships, just discuss how the day, rest after working so hard, and drink a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And then they get to making dinner and enjoying dinner together as a family, and just seeing that how their longevity is just more inspired by community was really great. So I wanted to bring that into Maryland and start showing there are things that we can do for our body to promote longevity, and we could do that as a community. So yeah.
So when you were doing your research, were there anyone who had a hyperbaric chamber in their clinic or location?
No, it's not clinic. It's just little rural areas where families and friends that become families just live together. They live off the land. So all it is just all natural things. It's them taking care of the dirt that their food is grown in. It's them taking care of each other, and just having those relationships with their earth and their selves just promoted longevity. There wasn't all these stressors and environment stressors, which is huge around here.
Sure.
Toxins that we just run into like hard walls every day, but these areas just work really hard just to keep that from their small community. So no, there's no hyperbarics in any of the blue zones that I know of, unless they're hidden underground.
Why did you go from wound care nursing to becoming an owner of a hyperbaric chamber?
Well, I will tell you, going from nursing to entrepreneur was a huge culture shock.
Yeah.
Huge culture shock.
And what year was this that you transitioned from nursing to opening your business?
Well, I'm still a nurse because I'm still practicing.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So it was kind of adding to my resume.
Okay.
So that was a little bit difficult too, because I was like, okay, now I have to balance out these two careers here. What was the question?
I guess why did you go from wound care nursing to now you started like this hyperbaric chamber? Because I don't know, were you working in a clinic setting, and then now you're doing this where you're running your own business. So I mean, it takes a toll from especially the mentality of being a W-2 to now an owner. So
yeah, with no income yet.
Yeah.
I'm only a year in the business, so yeah, I'm in that expected, not to profit. I was prepared for that. So I was working in a wound care clinic that offered hyperbarics oxygen therapy for mostly primarily saw diabetic foot ulcers. So all the FDA approved, it's called on labeling, FDA approved, all the things that insurances will cover. And I started seeing, I was just in this traditional medicine world, robotic. You come in, this is what the FDA wants, we take care of it. So then I start seeing people that were coming in thinking outside the box and looking for alternatives for chronic conditions that they have, that the FDA has not approved yet as an official treatment for those. But people have done their research, they've done testimonies, and there are scientists out there that are studying these things. It's just there's cheaper ways to do it. So the FDA has not pushed along these conditions for the approval of hyperbarics. So my light bulbs are going off, and I'm like, this really works. And I'm researching, and I'm trusting in these people. I have Lyme's disease. PTSD was a big one. I've seen a lot of people come in for PTSD, and they were just getting turned away because insurance won't cover it.
Yeah.
And if you're in the clinic field and you're in this insurance-driven accreditations, it's very expensive to run those clinics. The clinicians that you have to have on hand, just did the dynamics. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take this on labeling, and I'm going to take it to an off labeling world. And that way I don't have to involve the insurances and their accreditations and the expenses and the costs. So I still follow all FDA, the FDA world. I follow NFPA 99, all these guidelines to the T, because I really want to set the standards here in Maryland. I still want things to be ran appropriately and safely, but I also want to open it up and make it more cost efficient for people that are paying out of pocket for these things.
Sure.
And I seen it in the wound care world. I've seen where a gentleman's coming in, this is my favorite story, coming in for a diabetic foot ulcer, Alzheimer's. And I'm not going to say this on camera, but he was repetitive, so we kind of implied he was 5-second Tom. I said it on camera. So you come in, he's like, hi, I'm Tom. What am I here for? And you get in. And you're doing 5 days a week. So you see this person for 60 treatments, 5 days a week. And it was day after day. And after his 20th treatment, he came in and he goes, hey, Heather, how you doing? And I'm like, fine. He's like, we doing hyperbarics today? And the wife was standing behind him like, yes. She's like, it's all of a sudden. She goes, we had the best weekend. The value of his life came back. They went golfing, did things they haven't did. And I start researching. I was like, well, yeah. We focus so much on this diabetic foot ulcer, but hyperbarics is this globalized treatment. It does not discriminate. It does not discriminate whatsoever. So anyway, my heart was just tugged on that, and I was like, I've got to do this for people and just make it more accessible.
So that was probably like one of those aha or like life-changing moments in your career, like this is my passion, this is why I'm doing it, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of those stories, like I think for as an entrepreneur, like especially in the beginning, like I'm in the beginning, like just like you, so I feel you have to have those moments in order to get through those times that you're like, you know what, this is why I'm doing it, this is why I'm serving, this is why I have these services, because I believe in it, I've seen it,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That's awesome. As far as like the demographic, I know you said like it doesn't, it's for everyone and anyone, correct?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. There are a few, and we do a head to toe. I do have a medical director. This isn't something broke that I could just do as an RN.
Yeah.
We're delivering oxygen. Oxygen's a drug, so we need a doctor to prescribe it. But they also look over the health questionnaire. So everybody has to fill out a health questionnaire and consents before they do it. So there are certain conditions that we will really question if we want to put them in that environment. But hyperbarics is applying atmospheric pressure. Right now we're 1.0, so we double that, triple it sometimes for some people. So we're doubling that atmosphere pressure, and we are breathing about 23% oxygen. So we're delivering 100%. So they are breathing in 100%. We're applying the pressure, so it's forcing oxygen to get to areas of the body it just doesn't get. That's where that fascia comes in, oxygen. So wear and tear, general, you know this with just what you do. We put a lot of stress on our bodies. It creates chronic pain issues, and it's so easy to prevent, and hyperbarics is the way to prevent a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Because you are forcing oxygen to area that the environment's just taken away.
So me growing up in Hawaii, like I'm used to diving, swimming underwater, and I know you mentioned to me like how people have used this in the diving world as part of a regiment, or like can you explain to me like how that works?
Yeah, so actually in the medical field we call it a dive. And hyperbarics has been around for centuries, and it's been used by the Navy for deep diving, and it's this thing called the bends, decompression illness. So if you go diving underwater, you're applying a lot of pressure. Well, if you come up too quick, that pressure, just mixes all these gases, and you can't get rid of carbon, nitrogen, you get really sick, because you don't have that mechanism like we're doing, breathing in your nose, out your mouth. So if you come up too quick, these gases build, it makes you really sick, and you get the bends. So when you do hyperbarics, it kind of floods that body and just forces these gases to move along and get out and do their thing. So with that being said, what deep divers do, they kind of prepare, they set the environment in their oxygen enriched environment, in their blood, their plasma, it becomes more enriched with oxygen. So it kind of helps them prevent these incidents from happening when they're deep diving. Because if you go deep enough, and when we do hyperbarics, so a lot of people love to do 2.2 atmospheres. What that means is they're imitating as if they were going under salt water.
Okay, sorry.
Nope, no worries.
I do have a time limit on how long I can be on Instagram, so.
Oh.
It's just for my sakes, because like.
I'm a yipper-yapper.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's my screen time limit, so that I can limit myself on my phone. So.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so going back to that, I know I've never been in a hyperbaric chamber before, but can you explain to me, if you've been in it, what if someone wants to come in and come into your clinic, what should they expect? What is the feeling? Because I'm sure people are like, if they're claustrophobic, like in this little, what do you call it, a capsule or? So
it's funny. There's a lot of names for it. In the medical field, we call it a chamber.
Chamber. Okay.
But then we get here, and I'm like, I don't want to tell clients they're going into a chamber. That just seems so terrifying. Like, get into the chamber. Everybody calls it the tube. I thought that was weird. I call it a she right now. She's my queen. So everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna get in a tube now. I'm like, okay, all right. Cocoon, capsule. Yep, I've heard it all. And I let people name it because you guys, so you're getting in it, and I want you to be comfortable. But it's funny, in the medical field, we weren't allowed to do hyperbarics. You had to have an FDA, so I never did it until I bought a chamber. So when I purchased my chamber with help, when I got my chamber, I got to try hyperbarics for the first time. And it was amazing. So you do have like some ear popping. You're changing the environment drastically. So you feel it more in empty cavities, like your sinus cavity in your ears. Yeah, and it's only when you're going up in pressure. So it's like 15 minutes of just like trying to figure out that discomfort, like, okay, I think I like this. And then once you're at pressure, it's just this quiet environment, and you will have the best sleep in your life. So I like to make it a cocoon for everybody and make it soft lighting in there, because you're shutting down your parasympathetic, so now your brain can connect better. And when you come out, and a lot of people do it for cognition. I have a lot of clients that do it for cognition purposes, before tests, before like big projects, things like that. It's like your synapses just sings and connects, and I come out and I just brain dump for an hour. I love it. I'm so productive. I'm thinking of ideas that I haven't thought of. And when I don't do hyperbarics, I will feel it. I'm like, I miss it. I really need to find time to get in. A lot of people love it, and you're supposed to feel tired when you come out. You're supposed to be a little exhausted.
Why is that?
Because you are duplicating your red blood cells, your white blood cells, your plasma. All of these things are happening. So now you got this big volumized blood circulating through your body. So you metabolize. That's why we have to be careful with diabetics.
Okay.
But you do a major metabolizing in there, reducing oxidative stress, detoxing, all in like 60 minutes under pressure.
No way.
So you're supposed to feel tired because it's like your body just did a nice cardiac workout. You don't feel it while you're in there. You don't feel it at all. And I read a study where it says that you can burn 400 to 600 calories while you're in there.
That's crazy.
Right, I was trying to figure out how to put that in my weight loss program. So you're supposed to feel tired, but most of my clients come out and they're like, so much energy. And the one guy's like, I didn't sleep for 3 days. I was like, I don't know if that's really good. But hey, you're supposed to sleep better because with that blood flow, just with the pituitary gland, your thyroid, your endocrine system is just doing what it's supposed to do. It's balancing out because it's not stressed out from your, trying to keep up with your natural anatomy. Your melatonin spikes, so you sleep a lot better. So people have a better, an increase in a better REM, the REM sleep. Yes, I do hyperbarics. Yes, I love it. When you're in there, it is extremely cozy, and it's a constant airflow, so you just have a constant white noise. The only thing that's different is when you're going up in pressure, you feel it, and when you come down from pressure, we're letting air out. I don't know if you remember hearing that yesterday.
I did.
So you let the air out to bring it would simulate as if they were coming up from salt water. But we're actually bringing down the PSI. So it's really hard when I'm like talking, but so you'll hear the air coming out, and I just tell people sit back and relax. So yeah.
Okay, so what are some misconceptions about hyperbaric chambers?
Yes. So if you Google hyperbarics, you'll see a lot of people, you'll see a lot of studies that didn't finish. But a lot of the studies that don't finish is because there's a variable that fell out of place. Something simple. It didn't have to do where it wasn't effective. Or there's not enough proof to show that it is effective. So if you're study driven, you'll see that hyperbarics doesn't have a lot of proof. So you'll start seeing testimonies, private case studies, which I would love to get into. That's like my next goal to do in a year. People say that all the side effects, there's a lot of side effects that can happen. And my consents are so scary, sorry. But all those side effects can be avoided if you're with the right provider. Oxygen toxicity. We're just not going to put you in that environment if you're exasperated and you can't get out carbon and you're not breathing in your nose, out your nose. The ear, you could burst eardrums. Well, guess what? If you have ear pain, we're not going to keep taking you up the pressure. We're going to help clear that cavity out. So you see a lot on the internet saying, oh my God, it'll burst your ears. You can have oxygen toxicity. There are some metabolic changes that go on, and that's why we have a medical director and clinical staff, because we want to make sure if somebody does have a condition with any kind of metabolic disorder, we just want to make sure we're not putting them in an environment to dump all these toxins in their body, and then you can't get rid of it, lethargic, feel bad. Seizures, that's oxygen toxicity. You're not going to go in there if we see you come walk through our door and you can't take a breath, So a lot of the things that you see on the internet actually can be avoided if you're in the right environment. And I think they like to scare people for appropriate reasons, because you're getting people that are starting to put these in their homes. They're doing studies and they're like, oh, hey, this podcaster, I won't say his name, he does hyperbarics every day, he's got a blah, 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 I'm going to go buy one. And they could put themselves in it, and they do it themselves without the knowledge. So that's the thing. Yeah, even like stretching without knowledge. I could totally stretch wrong and really hurt myself.
Oh, yeah.
So to kind of have somebody that can help, I understand the fascia more. It's not my specialty. That's not what I do. I think, oh yeah, if I touch my toes, I'm great. So it just has to do with that specialty. So I think they go online. They put, it's not myths. It's things that'll actually happen, but they're avoidable things. So It just has to do with knowing your body, knowing what's going to happen with your body with hyperbarics, and seeking some advice from people. I have people that say, I put a hyperbaric chamber in my home, and they feel scared to talk to me. And I'm like, talk to me. I want to share that knowledge. You're not a competitor. You're not taking business from me. I'd rather tell you so you don't harm yourself and ruin it for people like me out here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The myths are more, it's true, but you can avoid a lot.
As far as like, so I'm kind of switching gears now as far as like the business side. So like when you started, were there, or even now currently, are there any marketing or ways that you've been growing your business that's worked best for you and your situation?
So I spent the past year toggling around and trying to play, and I spent the very first year educating Maryland. The DMV area really is not, we're still in a traditional world, which is not an insult to traditional doctors.
Yeah.
They're following the rules, they're covering their app, CYA. I was like, you cussing here? So there's CYA. So yes, they're by the books. But now we're starting to see where a lot of people are going outside the FDA driven world because they're like, oh, I know this helps, but the FDA doesn't prove it. I know this. So what I had to do for marketing purposes, I had to put myself out there and educate people what hyperbaric oxygen therapy does. So that was my first thing was like, let's introduce to Maryland, the DMV area. Let's introduce what hyperbarics does for the body. How is it holistic? How is it preventative? How does it recover? How does it rejuvenate? How does it help with tissue repair and injuries? Like it's very diverse treatment. So that was a big thing, was putting out education and just showing people. So I spent a year doing that. It was a little bit costly. I'm a very, very small business, so I kind of had to put that on the back burner and just reutilize some of the things I have. So right now, I did a little project, a financial project. Most of my clients, which is different for other people, are word of mouth. They're on support groups, Lyme disease support groups, autism support group. What's another support group? Well, tick-borne illnesses is a really big one. Mold toxicity support groups. So they're all talking to each other. They're like, you need to go find yourself a hyperbaric facility. This is what hyperbaric did to me. So then people are Googling. So right now my power is Google. It's Google, word of mouth. I plan to, a second chamber is coming. Big addition. You got to see all that yesterday. So a chamber is coming. It's a big addition. So now that I'm starting to staff the place, I want to get out there myself, like you do. I love it. I want to get out there and I want to say, hi, I'm Heather. This is the services that will complement your services. This is how we can work better to help your clients get the best of what you're doing. Because you never want to take away from another provider and say, hey, I can help you. Because then you're implying like, that you don't do, and that's not what hyperbaric does. It's a complementary, you know. It's not even an alternative. You can actually do so many modalities together to reach somebody's health goal, and it's really nice to have a provider that drives that bus and says, "I'm going to do this for you, but I want you to go over here and try this too, and let's do this." And we bring these services together. That's my dream, is to bring a lot of services together with hyperbarics. So that's my next big thing, is to hit the streets.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's definitely, I think I guess in the holistic field, like you need that naturopath, osteopath, people who are in that realm that can refer you to you. I mean, because that's important, because those who aren't looking for holistic health or alternative medicine, they're not going to find it unless they are in this realm, right?
Right.
So, yeah, definitely important. Do you have any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs here in Maryland that you could share from the time that you started? Like, what are some tips as far as like getting started, things that maybe they could avoid or, you know, look out for when starting a business here?
Yeah. I sure do. So, I'm not going to tell my story because it's really long, but it was very difficult. It was a nurse with a dream. Is like, I'm going to do this. I don't care. I'm doing it. I know I can do it. Had somebody back up the finances for the hyperbaric chamber, which is super, super expensive. It's a medical device, FDA approved, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, I got the chamber. Now I need a place to put it. So I didn't have a lot of real estate knowledge. I didn't have a lot of marketing knowledge. I just had the skill, the tech. I could do it. I could put it somewhere. I know how to set it up to meet all the guidelines because that's what I did at my last job. And I was like, I could do this. I got this.
Yeah.
And then I get there and I'm like, you can't open. You're considered medical. You're considered that, and I'm just like, oh, so what you want to do, you want to find people that are smarter than you.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, people are not always competitors. People do love helping. So if you find somebody and you're like, how did you do this? They love sharing their stories. You really do want to surround yourself with networking too. Like, I'm part of the Anne Arundel Chamber of Commerce. And I get a lot of referrals from them. I get, they're always looking out for each other. So you want to join networkings, local networkings, and then start going to those events and you start talking. And then you get to share what you do. And people really the members will actually take more personal interest of themselves of any network thing. But get into your county too. I accidentally found a lot of my resources out of desperation, realizing I could have avoided everything I put myself through for like 4 months of a financial deficit because I couldn't open. So I'm going to the county, like, I'm desperate, help me. But then I came across all these amazing people. So look into your county, look at their economic support, join their chambers, other people that are doing what you do, pick their brains. But yeah, find people that are smarter than you and take your skill, go out there, do it. But then also take advantage of those that are willing to share their knowledge with you and resources.
And then as far as your future plans for BluZone, I know you kind of mentioned, sneak peek, that you're opening or you're having another chamber. So please tell us what other future plans you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny. I just did a program. I don't know if I can shout out. It's called IVP. Okay. And it's through the Anne Arundel Economic Development. And they had me put on paper, if you want $1 million the next year, and work backwards from there. So they help you project. And I was like, yeah, this tenacious girl wants $3 million. But no, so seriously, by doing this project and working backwards, by adding employees to work longer hours, I was able to extend my hours and add another chamber. So I increased my profit significantly. I think it was 37%. So I have a lot of people that come and they're like, well, let's open one in Gaithersburg. Let's open one in Harford County. Let's open one in Timonium. Let's do this. Those are huge financial projects. So I had to kind of sit back and say, one step at a time. I'm only a year in, one step at a time. So it's good to be tenacious. Yeah. But my next step, I want to spend the next year or two building these 2 chambers up, filling them up, and spreading the word about hyperbarics. And then I'm hoping by year 3-5 of business, I can start doing soft franchises and popping up in local areas. Okay. So yeah, because I have people that come from Northern Virginia, DC, way out like in Frederick, that travel into me. So I really want to make it more accessible for people, especially as the word gets out. So that's my dream. Little soft franchises pop up around Maryland.
And then of course, my last thing is, like, I forgot to ask you, how long is a hyperbaric chamber session?
That's a really good question. Yep, it is a commitment. So the people that come in, they're committed to this. So I buffer out 2 hours. It takes 15 to 20 minutes to get up to pressure. Okay. You want to bang for your bucks. You want to stay at pressure for 60 minutes, and then it takes 15 to 20 minutes to come down from pressure. So it really depends how you're tolerating your ears going up in pressure. Some people are very, very overzealous and like to go up to higher pressures, like 2.8, so that takes longer. So I tell everybody to plan to be there an hour and a half to 2 hours. Okay. Yeah.
And then of course my last couple questions I have is, like, exit plan, I know, like, I don't know if your kids are involved or you brought them along, you know, like showing them what to do. What are their thoughts? And do you think like they could be following your footsteps and helping you out? I mean, I was just curious.
Yeah. So my husband and I were a blended family, and together we have 5 children. And the only one that's close to medical, I have a daughter who has her bachelor's in athletic training, so she has worked the hyperbaric chamber. She comes down and helps me. Okay. We were doing a weight loss program. We're like, you be the movement coach, and I'll do nutrition and injections. And but now she's focusing on a physical therapy program. So she backed out, but she would have been the only one that would have been interested. I mean, the others are electricians, hairdressers. The other one's in art and just started art school. So I have a feeling my exit plan is either, I do have an exit plan. Okay. 2 plans. Either I'm going to sell my company to somebody that will love and adore it the way that I do, and that will has a passion for hyperbarics in about probably 10 to 15 years, or I will just do a whole bunch of little pop-ups everywhere and just let someone run it and sit back and enjoy it. But I do plan to exit out somehow. My 5-year plan is to see where the business is going with growth. See how receptive Maryland is to hyperbarics, which is really, really important, and then build for another 5-10 years of how I want to exit. So, yeah.
It's probably like one of those things as a entrepreneur, you should be thinking an exit plan, because if you just keep going along and you don't have a way to sell it or to keep going on, like, what is the point? Or like, there should be an end goal, some kind of, not definite, but some kind of goal to reach, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep going somehow. I'll definitely keep going.
Well, I had a lot of fun time learning about you, learning more about BluZone, what you offer, and of course being there. I'm glad I was able to come by and actually give a tour over there. So Heather, please share with the audience how people can follow you, book an appointment for all the services that you provide. And I know you not only do hyperbaric, but you also do a couple other things, correct?
Yes, yep. So I do a couple other complementary services. I wanted to prove that I could be an entrepreneur, so I started Mobile IV in Harper County, and it kind of followed me down here. So we do Mobile IV if there's nurses available, and then we do IV nutrition, NAD, detox IVs in the spa because they really complement hyperbarics. And we do weight loss because I had a lot of interest in weight loss, so we do injections also with some coaching. But that is all the little niches that go along with hyperbarics. So you can call 443-640-5032. You could text, it's text friendly. Our website is really great. I have a great website guide. We worked really hard to put blogs and studies on there too. So if you want to peek around and you want to see these are scientific studies, I made sure everything is legitimate that's on my page. So you could go to BluZoneMD.com, and I'm unique and special, so I spell BluZone BLU and then ZONE MD for Maryland.com. So you could go on there, and from there you'll see book nows, and you can book now from there. And we do an introductory session for hyperbarics at a discounted rate, so you could give it a try. It's a full session. And then with the second chamber, we have a membership coming, which I'm super excited about.
Ooh, okay, to be announced.
Yeah. Yep.
And of course, where can they come and visit the business address? Sorry, I forgot to ask.
Yep, it's 133 Defense Highway. It's in Annapolis, the county, and I'm Suite 110.
So for those of you in around the county, Maryland, please go visit BluZone if you are interested in Heather and her services there, or you just wanted to kind of talk to her, because like I said, she's been doing this for a year, and I've been really curious to see how this can help with the holistic health with the body, so that's why I invited her. I think it's one thing, like you said, it's been around for so long, and it's great that you're pushing people to educate about the importance of this hyperbaric chamber. So Those of you who are subscribing, following to the Stretch2Go podcast, continue to do so. We're going to continue to do this Maryland series where I interview entrepreneurs, business owners who are here in Maryland every week, I should say, in the studio. So thank you, Heather, once again. It was a pleasure. And yes, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It was awesome. I always get pregnant like, I'm going to talk way too much. Because I was like, I knew you're like, I got to call you. Well, look, we made it 3 minutes before.
Let's see. Oh, no. Okay, how do I end it now?